My friends, the great experiment.
Down on the lower decks.
Hidden trick.
Would you look at that?
The greatest trick.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
The greatest trick.
Welcome to Greatest Trek. It's a new Star Trek podcast from the makers of The Greatest Generation. I'm Ben Harrison.
I'm Adam Pranica.
Can't believe we're on the back half of this season already.
I know.
That just feels unfair. Feels rude.
I wonder how far ahead people making the show knew where the episodes would fit into the year, release-wise. Because I thought it was really interesting that we're like watching an episode about very apparent differences between two cultures in middle November 2024, you know?
Sure. And how a romance between teens would be the thing that solves it all. Like
it's a tale as old as time, right?
Yeah, it's a real Baron and Greta.
How dare you?
You know, that's an idea.
Yeah, that's an idea that can go on the board.
Yeah, we'll put it up on the board. We'll see if we can pay it off later. Not now, obviously. But yeah, a good parable for the times we're living in.
But if it's not that, what a coincidence it is to have this be the message thrust upon us.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you take some inspiration from that message? Do you think that there might be a path toward mutual understanding and forgiveness for you?
Oh, I got thoughts about that maybe I'll save for the Did You Like part of the episode. But maybe we should hasten our path toward that end and get into this episode, Ben. It's Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 6 of Gods and Angles.
You know the greatest danger facing us is an irrational fear of the unknown.
We start with some really beautiful score, some very Star Trek film-inspired score work as we get like a god shot of the Cerritos hanging in a nebula, and our boy Commander Ransom is logging about some orbs and some cubes and a brokered peace between them that the Cerritos has arrived at this nebula to work on.
I think maybe separate from that initial idea of like an election year concept is also like the holiday season, right? Because this is yet another Star Trek episode where it's got to be such a thing to have Thanksgiving in your home every month, every couple of weeks. When you work on Star Trek, when your job is to live on a starship like this, it's Thanksgiving all the time. And that's gotta suck. Like, eventually it's gotta be so fatiguing to just host these people with these disagreements and have to, like, pass the diplomatic roles across the table to broker some peace, you know?
And it's like you try and put out a nice spread, and sometimes they don't even appreciate it.
I shall try some of your burned, replicated bird meat.
It's just gotta be so tedious. And you really gotta love that to work in Starfleet, I think.
We love this shit. Commander Ransom also just beleaguered by problem ensigns. In his career as the first officer of a California-class starship, you gotta love having uppity ensigns that are no good at what they do, right? Because that's gonna be like the main thing you're dealing with.
You gotta believe if you're a commander on a better ship, you're just getting a better class of ensign, right?
California class is getting everybody that graduated middle to bottom of their class. And, you know, up on those Galaxy class ships, they're getting top of their class graduates.
Yeah. With all their attendant annoyances. Galaxy class ensigns.
Yeah.
I mean,
just a bunch of precocious ensigns that, you know, you got to imagine that there are commanders throughout Starfleet that, like, when the Yamato blew up for no good reason, they were like, oh, thank fuck. I don't have any of those ensigns to deal with.
I have like 14 unanswered emails from the fucking ensigns on the Yamato.
Yeah, asking for like letters of recommendation and shit. So the problem ensign of the day is a lady who's got a laurel in her hair, and she has crammed a bunch of circular furniture onto a sled, like an anti-grav sled, and has done a great job getting all of this stuff on. And presumably this is circular furniture that is being like moved into the temporary quarters of sphere beings, right?
It makes the case, given how familiar so much of these items are, if you've watched Star Trek for any length of time,
Yeah.
there's got to be like a Marriotification of Starfleet where like if you're outfitting a ship full of domestic goods and furniture and stuff, there's probably a kit for this, right?
Yeah. There's like wharf chair, there's Dabo wheel, there's a lot of they really like scrubbed through the entire history of Star Trek and picked out as many round things as they could come up with.
This is a series, or at least an episode, right? The Fleet Yard, where you do the final installation before the ship goes out.
Mm-hmm.
All these last minute things, the curtains, you know,
Oh, yeah.
the bedding,
I would love this episode.
the little soaps and so forth. The housekeeping of starships.
Ensign hospitality, going up and down the hallways with his push cart full of replacements for those little soaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a little like burst of wharf lightning, and this sled goes haywire and crashes and dumps everything. And this is the thing that is setting Ransom off. This ensign is causing mayhem.
We're gonna laugh about this later.
After the theme, Freeman and Mariner run into Ransom, and this new ensign is getting on his last nerve, and she's gone so far as to mess with his kettlebells, and that is truly the last straw for a man like Ransom.
I can't make gains without my bells!
And Mariner is intrigued in hearing all these things about this new ensign. Maybe she's interested because there are some familiar descriptions being said about this person.
Damn, this girl keeps getting cooler by the second.
When the idea is floated to maybe just transfer Ensign Olly off the ship, maybe it would be best for everyone involved if she just got the fuck off. Mariner takes it upon herself to be like personally interested in the success of an Ensign Olly.
Yeah. We learn a little bit about Ensign Olly from the data pad that she swipes from her mom, who's just a ball of stress about this diplomatic situation. Ensign Olly is descended from the Zeus of that one TOS episode and is therefore a demigod, although that's not standard Starfleet terminology for how you refer to somebody like this.
Demigod, maybe, is what they're called now.
Yeah, I mean, on like their bio on social media, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Mariner's excited about taking the awesome responsibility of an Olly under her wing, and we cut over to Boimler's quarters, where a lot of his face is initially obscured in this shot, and I was kind of surprised that there wasn't much of a reveal when he pulls the pad away. Like we're continuing apace with the development of his facial hair, but I wanted there to be like a really wild goatee or something when the pad came away.
Well, as someone who has struggled with the growth of their own facial hair, I think it's important that you know this, Ben, because you have no such difficulties. You kind of plateau at a certain point where it doesn't seem like the empty parts will ever grow in.
Yeah.
And for many people, for most people, and for me, that's the point where you just give up and start shaving again.
So is that where we are with his facial hair growth at this point?
I mean, what I'm seeing on Boimler is purely theoretical when I'm talking about my own facial hair, but I do know that you arrive at a point where it's either coming in or it's not, and I'm looking at Boimler's face, and I think he's got to be at that point.
He's reached like the Joe Dirt plateau.
God damn, you out of date, boy.
And it's anybody's guess whether he will power past it at this point or not. Rutherford comes in and is collecting power cells because that's a way that these beings of pure energy that they're hosting on board can be plied. And so he's just getting the little crystals out of every gadget in their quarters. And he wants the ones from Boimler's regular pad because he's aware of this other alternate universe pad that Boimler has been obsessed with lately.
What the fuck are they doing using personal batteries for work stuff? Like, I was thinking about this in the context of the office that you work in. There's a supply closet for this. What's Rutherford doing yanking power crystals out of their own personal gear?
The beauty of batteries in the supply closet is also free batteries.
Yeah.
Like, use work batteries with your personal stuff, not personal batteries with your work stuff.
That is exactly the argument.
Yeah. I guess maybe in like a moneyless post-scarcity society, people aren't as into stealing office supplies.
Everyone's battery is everyone else's battery, I guess.
Batteries to each according to their need. Batteries from each according to their ability.
It sounds terrible.
The greatest trick
Is yet to come.
When you're roommates with someone, you know the pads they're looking at. They think they're being sneaky.
You think you're being slick posing like Geordi on your bed there, Boimler?
Yeah.
Everybody knows what that means.
Dang it. I was trying to keep it a secret. No secrets from roomies. Sorry.
Rutherford is about as supportive as any roommate could be in circumstances like these. He's not going to judge you.
No. But the cat is out of the bag. And speaking of cats, Boimler has discovered a new pathway toward coolness in this iPad that leads through Dr. Katz.
Her name is Dr. Tahana.
And specifically being invited to join the Dr. Katz book club. Because I guess the orb/cube peace talks already happened a while back in the other universe. And so there's some examples cited of how Boimler can get a cool nickname from Dr. Katz, join the book club, and that's the pathway toward being in good with the bridge crew. And so he's basically using this as a playbook.
I'm going to hit pause on Lower Decks for a second.
Okay.
And I'm going to make this a question I'm going to ask you, Ben.
Okay. I'm scared.
It seems like for many people, that anxiety of having a goal and trying to figure out how to get there, or like some sort of construction of like what a successful life is, and then how you make moves in order to arrive at that place, is like a big part of a person's life. And you spend your entire life occasionally like trying to make it to that end goal. Do you think it would be easier or harder to live if you had an actual example of the path of your life going differently that you could use as a model? Because none of us have that model.
Yeah.
And absent the model, you're just like doing the best you can with the information you've got. But like if you had an example of you doing the thing
And doing it a little bit better every time.
Do you think that you would gravitate toward that or want to know more about that? Or would you reject it as a like, that may be me, but that's also not me. And that also feels like a cheat in a dirty way. Like, I kind of go both ways about it, but I think reflexively, I don't want that and I don't want to know about it because I think it would drive me crazier than the not knowing that my life is right now.
I think you make a good point. I feel like the fascination is very understandable and kind of interestingly non-Starfleet. Like so many times we saw captains especially have access to information about the future because of some time travel storyline, and they're like, I cannot look at it.
Right.
I mustn't for the good of the timeline or whatever. And maybe because the stakes are so personal for Boimler, he is like not expressing any thoughts surrounding that.
He should know better though, right?
I think I'd look. I'm not in Starfleet. I want to look at that shit.
As someone who had a direct interaction with an alternate reality and the people there, how could he not know that it's not just about attempting to mimic the actions of your doppel? It's about like all of the butterflies who flapped their wings from the time of his birth until that moment.
Right.
This just seems like a puck you can't possibly skate to, you know?
Yeah, I do think he's setting himself up for great disappointment and hopefully character growth, but
it's a very, like, uniquely Boimler quality.
he has like the game genie of life. Like he gets to like plug his cartridges into something that has the cheat codes built in. But like that's not a fun kind of video game to play, you know? Like when you're on God mode, it doesn't have the same draw.
That's a great point, because you can have all the ambition in the world, but like part of the great feeling of arriving at a place that you set out to have as a goal for yourself is like the struggle and the emergence on the other side. And if you have the cheat code, what do you lose?
Yeah. A lot.
Anyway, I just thought that was really interesting that like, this is a cartoon, but this is like 3-dimensional stuff happening here.
Definitely. Speaking of struggles, Mariner is hanging out in her old bunk, which I guess Olly has moved into. She's waiting for Olly, who is late, and T-Lin walks up and kind of dunks on Mariner for being nostalgic about her old haunts. Mariner explains, no, I'm trying to get this ensign so that we can do a mish together. And Olly walks up. She's got a portable tractor beam. How did she do that?
Incredible!
Wouldn't this be a device that's already in circulation, in use? It seems as though she has invented this thing.
Yeah, like it's a prototype, because T-Lin's impressed that she's figured something out with it.
Right.
She explains all like, I used to be in engineering, but I got kicked out of that track in Starfleet. That's why I'm a red shirt now. Mariner explains, okay, there's a teen cube that's being a bit petulant, and we got to go look after this teen cube, and I'm going to cool boss you the entire way. You're going to love it.
This cube kid has locked themselves into their quarters, and Mariner forces open the door to this place and finds it trashed and some photonic blood on the wall. Blood or something.
Yeah, there's some nasty stuff showing up when they turn on the UV light in here. Quadrulon, nowhere to be found. And this is immediately, I mean, it's kind of Olly that leads with this, right? That it's like, that they're considering this as like potentially the scene of a murder. Like, there's no body, but they're like, oh yeah, like this room is messed up enough that we're assuming that we will find one eventually.
Right, and Shax and Freeman are participating in this initial part of the investigation, but with all of the diplomatic shit they've got to do, delegating this to Mariner and Olly is what they're forced to do.
Yeah.
At this point.
There is no video screen in the room, and Quadrulon was apparently doing a lot of gaming or whatever, so that's suspicious, and they're going to like look for that as a way of looking for Quadrulon's corpse, I guess. Meanwhile, Boimler has made it his mission to get a cool nickname, so he shows up in Sick Bay to try and befriend Dr. Katz.
I've always wanted to learn medical stuff.
No, off.
Haven't we seen this episode of Seinfeld before? You can't choose your own nickname.
You really can't.
You're not a T-bone. You're a perfect George.
What? Now you listen to me.
Working the term flip into casual conversation a bunch of times just isn't going to work. Although, one thing that occurred to me at the end of this episode is, did we meet Dr. Tiana in Dos Cerritos from the other ship? Because flip is a term that people use in place of fuck.
What?
Yeah, there's people who say, like, this is no flippin' good or whatever, you know?
Like an edited for TV movie?
Yeah, exactly. Like, was Dr. Tiana from the other Cerritos like a self-censorer in a way that our Dr. Tiana is not?
I never considered that. I'm blown away. I'm ready to believe this. Okay. Great angle.
We might need to go back and rewatch that one. Anyways, he is very annoying. She would like him to leave very much, and he tries to underline the nickname he would like by doing a backflip, but he crashes into a cart full of hypo sprays and like multiply injects himself with experimental anesthetics.
Nice going, f***o. We need to score a lot of laps fast.
We're licensed businessmen.
This ship and her history will shortly become the care of another crew. They will continue the voyage as we have begun.
The greatest trek.
Let's talk about the hypo spray for a second. It appears as though they operate like nail guns, right? Like pressure makes the medical nail go in to the stud.
Right. It's like the EpiPen, but you don't have to hit quite as hard.
What my question is why don't these have safeties, like a weapon or something?
They really should.
Like you hold it, but there should be a click to turn the safety off to administer the thing, right?
I have a culinary torch in my kitchen.
Safety on that.
It's very much the same, but there's like a little pin you have to pull down. It's a two-handed thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to like throw it in a drawer and have the trigger go and then burn your fucking house down.
How is this a thing in Star Trek in the 24th century?
Is it a thing just in Dr. Ta'ana's sickbay? Like she is a uniquely careless physician.
She doesn't lock up her hypo sprays. That's wild. And wild is what happens to Boimler having a handful of hypo sprays hit him at the same time. He does that McRib thing from The Simpsons where his pupils get really big. That's fun. It's funny how like the Requiem for a Dream close-up eyeball effect, in its context, horrifying and sad. The Simpsons do basically exactly the same effect. Hilarious and fun.
Yeah.
Sir, are you all right?
I have eaten the ribs of God.
When Marge and Selma go ass to ass, just delightful.
Yeah.
Not tragic.
Great every time.
So Mariner and Olly are looking around in like the gym on board the ship, tricordering for this screen. They go into one of the locker rooms and surprise a sphere that is not aglow.
Don't look at me, I'm not glowing!
Oh, is that like being naked?
Yes!
You look great.
That guy fucks off, and they talk a little bit about what it's like to be a demigod. And Olly seems to have a very like, I resent this aspect of my identity relationship with her partial godhood.
Sure. This feels like a natural way to be. You don't want to be pigeonholed into a way of being just because you wear laurels that you can't remove from your head.
It feels very Star Trek, too. Like, there's so many characters that are part alien that resent one side or the other of their alien lineage.
Part alien and also unable to fulfill the expectations of that alien species. Like the part about Olly that she admits in this episode is that, like, yeah, I'm God or godlike, but I'm just not good at God things.
Yeah. That laurel, that thing weighs a fucking ton, man.
So they're looking for this missing computer, and they find one used by the Spheres that has a bunch of anti-cube propaganda on it. And we cut to an interrogation scene where Olly is most definitely the bad cop. I thought Mariner was kind of leading this investigation. That's part of the thing about Olly is that she does not seem to subscribe to whatever rank and job there is in this or any other mission on the ship.
Yeah, there is a reason that Mariner is assuming that Olly is just a young mariner that needs an older mariner to show her the right way.
Yeah.
And this interrogation doesn't yield a lot and ultimately turns to Mariner just being like stressed and angry with Olly. So they step out to the hallway to talk about who should be which cop. And the sphere that they were interrogating escapes, and it turns into a great big chase scene.
Back in sickbay, Boimler is on a bio bed while Rutherford and Tendi are tending to him. And they're both on the side of Boimler. Why are you trying to be someone else?
Didn't you learn this with the whole Hawaii thing?
Just be yourself and see what happens then. Because I know we've said this on the show before, Ben, like especially where romantic interests are involved, like if you have to convince someone to love you, that's some bullshit because all you've done is portray yourself as something that you're not in order to sell them on an idea of someone that you're not, you know? And this is the same thing that's happening in this scene. Like, if Boimler wants to be loved by Dr. Katz or anyone else in a professional way, you can't keep up the facade forever. You can't be Flip Boimler forever if it's not in your nature to be Flip Boimler.
Right. I mean, it's almost like he's trying to convince him to love himself in a way. And that's really sad.
Yeah. That's what makes things so confusing when he's trying to be himself, but from a different universe. You could say that's what he's attempting to do anyway.
Yeah. He does not really hear the counsel of Rutherford and Tendi. He comes up with the idea because he's got some voicemails from Prime Universe, Dr. Katz to Prime Universe Boimler, where she's really given him the business swearing-wise, which I guess undermines my theory that Flip is a censored version of fuck, now that I think about it. And he's like, okay, I got to go cuss Dr. Katz out. That's the way to her heart. And he attempts this, and the overtures toward friendship do not go well, Enterprise.
Do you think this show used to curse more? I think they've gotten away from that over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I think that's true. It really made me laugh this time. Like this, Dr. T'Ana, like shredding him to ribbons and all the beeps really hit me in this moment. This is like, I think, the funniest moment of the episode for me.
Are Dr. Katz and Shax still a thing?
I think they are.
Are we going to get a Shax episode this season also?
I hope so.
I love that guy.
I hope they just do like a romantic episode between Dr. Katz and Shax, you know? Let's focus on that for a little while.
We're running out of time.
We are. So the chase that we were talking about before, where Mariner and Olly are after this sphere, takes them right into the conference room where the diplomacy is going down. And this cube murder accusation is now out in the open. Everybody knows about it. Olly is, again, like super not deferential to the captain or any of the diplomats or the lieutenant that's overseeing her mission for the day, and says something about this melted screen that they need to find. And this causes Mariner to narrow her eyes. But we also learn a teen sphere is missing in addition to the teen cube that's missing. Just everything seems to be going left. If there's foul play, Freeman worried at the beginning, it will undermine the diplomacy, and that is very much what happens.
It seems like the conference room of a Federation starship is like a sacred place. Mm-hmm. To the extent that, like, when a firefight breaks out in one, it was shocking to me. Like, it's not unusual to see people argue across the table in these scenes, but holy moly, like it goes off in there, and the fight spills out into the rest of the ship, and the ship is getting fucked up.
It really is. Holes getting punched in walls, searing circle and square marks all over pretty much every surface. This is a full-blown shape war.
Would you look at that?
Mariner finds this melty screen, and it's hidden in Olly's locker, of all places.
Uh-oh.
Olly explains, like, okay, when I was late to our meeting before, it was because I thought we were meeting up at the quarters that we were going to. And I went in and I found the melty screen, and everybody hates me on this ship, so I hid it because I thought I would be accused of the murder when this came to light. And it turns out she does have powers. She just didn't admit it. And like every time she's touched a electronic gadget and it's glitched on her up to now has been an example of this. It's just a little dab of warp lightning that will come out of her fingers from time to time.
Rogue wore gloves, though. Like, what are you doing, Ensign Olly?
Mm-hmm.
Get a couple of gloves.
That would work, right?
Up on those hands or something.
Yeah.
Like,
just like the rubber gloves that you use to wash the dishes, right?
Yeah. You know, like hearing you say that just made me think of the raisin fingers you get from wearing dishwashing gloves for any length of time. And I understand why Ensign Olly wouldn't want to wear them, but you got to wear something, especially if it is wrecking your career.
Maybe the glove full of lotion that guy in the
That sounds awfuler. Yuck.
What's that book called? Not The Grapes of Wrath. He's friends with Lenny.
Of Mice and Men.
Of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
He's got a glove strategy.
He does.
Trip Tucker had that glove on when his arm got invisible.
That's right.
That's probably not out for like 2 months, though.
I think we've made the case that gloves are canonically Star Trek.
Yeah.
And you can get them.
They've appeared in Star Treks from Star Trek Enterprise to Of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
She makes rubber lightning bolts.
I didn't ask for lightning bolts.
She has a very defanged version of the Zeus powers. And Mariner's like, well, this might be perfect. You're going to use your powers today. And they go down to the shuttle bay, and she turns into like Storm, gathering all of the electricity from the spheres and the cubes. And as she sucks all this energy away, it kind of like overloads her.
I took on too much power! Get back!
Lightning goes everywhere. A butt bolt takes Boimler out, and the shape war gets even worse.
This show has done this effect a couple of times already, like when Ransom turns big and godlike.
Excelsior! I am healed!
My power swells. My brain is unlocking its full potential.
When whoever that crew person was ascended and saw the koala.
Why is he smiling? What is he now?
There's a voice effect applied to the character that is really fun and funny, and I think it's consistent throughout. I think it's starting to make the case that like when you transcend in this way and become godlike, you kind of sound similar.
Yeah.
You kind of look the same. Like there's a unifying theory of this at play.
Yeah, so there's a really big sphere and a really big cube fighting, and they're blasting danger close to the Cerritos. This is real scary, but Olly comes up with an engineering solution in contrast with the Zeus solution that Mariner wanted her to do. Like Mariner's putting her in the Zeus box, and she's like, no, this is an engineering problem. And there's a tractor beam based solution. So they head up to the bridge. They're like almost kicked right back off. Freeman doesn't want Olly anywhere near a touchy situation like this, but they convince her to let them change out the poopy sheets on the bed.
Oh, it's a metaphor.
Yeah, a bad one.
And she does this cool tractor beam maneuver, and it sucks all of the cubes and spheres back into the ship, and they're like de-energized. And I thought for sure that this is going to be like we're all naked in front of each other, and like this humiliation as leading to trauma bonding between our two peoples or something. That's not where they go with it.
No, it's a confrontation of the truth that the kids have been hiding. Quadrilon and Radiara is the cubelet and spherelet missing for the entire episode, and it turns out they are a star-crossed pair of lovers. And they've made a baby, Squa'aran.
That happened really fast.
Yeah. And once they see this little kid, it seems like peace is possible in their time.
Yeah, it melts the hearts of these grandparents who happen to be the two people kind of leading the negotiations. So, the treaty is back on the table. We cut over to 6 Bay where a delicate medical operation is taking place. Dr. Katz is unburdening Boimler of his butt bolt.
Yeah. Ouch. What's the most traumatic injury you've ever taken to the butt, Ben?
Maybe that time that priest threw a egg at me.
Yeah, that qualifies.
Yeah. It wasn't really my butt. It was like the hip bone, but it was right above my butt. So
it's funny how like there's so much meat there. It seems like it would be hard to injure. Mm-hmm. But man, if you bonk it on the corner of a coffee table or something.
Oh man, that's going to bruise big.
Yeah, it bruises real bad.
Yeah. Boimler is going to recover. His nickname is Fucko.
Go! Yeah, and she said it with such warmth.
He's going to get that coveted book club invite. I'm sure that will go great for him.
It's the sort of invitation that you want until you get it, and then you're stuck in a book club. This seems like a disaster.
Yeah, this might not work out great. I really hope that we get this depiction of this book club in an upcoming episode. Rutherford and Tende are kind of like attaboying Boimler, and Rutherford decides that the takeaway from this whole experience is that your goal in life should be to copy your personality from your prime universe self.
That seems like a good message, right?
Yeah, perfect. No notes. Button on the episode is Olly in the captain's ready room being thanked for her brilliant engineering-based solution that saved the day and being told you're going to get transferred onto Billups's team first thing tomorrow morning. But in the meantime, it's the brig for you.
Yeah, and the hard part of being sent to the brig in Star Trek is that people want to hang outside of your brig cell.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
And fucking lecture you the entire time. Is it any wonder why the mood is so bad in the brig?
Yeah. But Mariner kind of realizing, and this has been a bit of a running motif this season, like the thing she imagined was bad about Olly was not, in fact, the thing Olly was struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
Olly was laboring under her own burdens, the burdens of being related to Zeus, etc. And her problems are not exactly Mariner's problems. So Mariner's solutions might not work for her.
Yeah. Seems that way.
Yeah.
This seemed like a good episode to you, Ben?
She'll always bring it home.
It did seem like a good episode to me. I got some big laughs out of this one. I thought it was very well observed, and I like the character of Olly. I hope she's a person we get to hang out with more. Like, a funny idea for a character. Like, I haven't seen that TOS episode, but I've seen lots of like screen grabs of it on the internet, and the idea of like a being that is not exactly like us, having spread his seed among us, is always funny to me. So, yeah, I thought it was a nice one. And I like the nickname Fucko, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, they didn't have to go crazy with it. Like, I knew it wasn't going to be Flip. I knew it wasn't going to be T-Bone. But I think Fucko was the right way, the right direction to head with the punchline of that long setup.
I mean, we had to end on Fucko, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where we had to arrive. Ben, I like the episode too, but I'm going to disagree with the second part because it's too late to introduce characters to care about right now. Like, I don't want any oxygen taken from Billups or Tiana or Kayshawn or whatever. Like, we don't have time for Ensign Olly. And this seemed like a straight line redemption story of the kind that Star Trek Lower Decks is as a series, not giving up on the person that everyone would ordinarily give up on. That's Mariner's story. Like, the redemption of the fuck up. That's her arc. And this like mini arc within the greater arc just kind of seems redundant to me. And I'm not saying this was a bad episode, because in many ways this episode is like the type of Lower Decks episode. Like, This is Star Trek Lower Decks in one episode. This has all of it. But when I'm looking at episode 6 in a final season of a series, I kind of wish we were telling a different story with the scarcity of minutes we have left. And that this is through no fault of anyone's, really.
Do you have the sense that they knew that this was the last season when they were writing it?
I don't.
I don't really feel like I have a grasp of that timeline. So
I suspect it wasn't, which makes something like this happening seem so realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's an interesting point. It's like, it's sort of the way I feel about Ensign Ro, honestly. Like, she's introduced so late in the series that I feel like sad that we didn't get more time with her. I wish she had moved over to DS9 in some ways for that reason.
I mean, evoking the Ensign Ro in this suggests that Ensign Olly is going to have a mini arc here with the potential to, like, really make you feel a certain way. And I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll find out.
We will also find out if there's anything in the Priority 1 inbox right after this musical sting.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Adam, this one is of a personal nature, and it's from Tony 70 Man, and it's to Ben and Adam. It goes like this. Clever of you to provoke an aged pensioner like me to shell out for another P1 to explain what's wrong with factory seconds. So, for breakfast, I had ultra gray oatmeal. For lunch, a fist worth of spinach with a single egg, because as Ben knows, that's enough. I like it. And for dinner, a beer from the store. Shall I go on? Maybe podcast this? Satisfied now?
You really paint a picture, Tony.
Yeah. Not necessarily one of a person taking better care of himself than us eating a Cheesecake Factory amount of food and then podcasting about it.
My point then is my point now for Tony, and I think this goes for anyone. Not everything we make is for everyone. Not everything anyone makes is for everyone. So, yeah, factory seconds not working for Tony.
Do you think Tony was watching the episode where Maglimo was trying to impress the food critics, and he just turned it off, and he was like, "I will not watch this. I'm a fistful of spinach and enough guy, and no other things."
I mean, is this a version of misophonia that is like, I cannot stand the depiction of food, the stories of food in any way? Not the sounds that are made when you consume the food. It's everything else.
Yeah, maybe so.
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like this could be kind of a bodybuilder type diet. We're talking about eggs and oatmeal. That's
does sound, yeah.
Those are pretty clean foods. Mm-hmm. Way to go, Tony. Burning clean.
Cutting out all of the non-beer calories at dinner time.
Yeah, save it for the beer. This is like getting the per diem, not spending it at all on breakfast or lunch and saving it for dinner.
Hell yeah.
It's beer diem is what it is that Tony's doing. Good job, Tony. Tony, I will welcome any further explanations you might want to give. Just tell us more about your life, Tony.
I'm curious. I want to sign up for Tony's newsletter for sure.
Ben, we got another priority 1 message here. It's from Gallagher, first son of Tony.
Okay.
It's to Adam and Ben. Here's that message. I was catching up on Greatest Trek and just found out that my dad paid money to complain. I can clarify that he does dislike factory seconds specifically. Also, that he's wrong. Factory seconds rules forever, and I love it.
Wow.
I apologize publicly for my father's behavior. I can also confirm that he is 70 years old, but please forgive our family.
Well, here's the thing, Gallagher. Tony has gotten a couple of priority 1 messages on the show, and as far as I can tell, you've only gotten one. So I'm going to take Tony's side on this for now.
I mean, I just want to barf when I use this word. Like, fuck using the word journey in the way that I'm about to, but like part of my journey as a person is recognizing that I don't have to apologize for my parents' behavior. You shouldn't have to do this either. Gallagher, it's not on you. Smash the behavioral expectations you have for your parents with a comically sized hammer, like so many watermelons, and live a happier life. That's what I'd suggest.
That's got to be a delightful new angle for them to hear.
Let's talk it out on the show. It seems like a thing that we're doing with you. Priority 1 messages can be written out at MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron, and we'll read them and parse all the messages of them on our show because they're a great way to support the production of what we do here.
Hey, Adam.
What's that, Ben?
Did you find yourself an Edward Larkin?
Edward Larkin! It's Ensign Olly. How could it not be? You may come up with a different one. It'd be great if you did. I couldn't find one that wasn't Ensign Olly.
Yeah.
When you create the destruction in the episode, you're kind of the leader in the clubhouse for what Edward Larkin is going to be.
Okay, before I lock that in though, I do have a question. In retrospect, is the smear that they find on the wall in the quarters Quadrulon's cum?
If I had to bet, and I'm a betting man.
You are.
I would say that it is.
I mean, like 8-bit cum is pretty funny.
It's really funny.
I give it to Quadrulon.
Quadrulon for coming on the wall.
Yeah, for, he's a pixelated decorator is what he is.
I like that a lot.
He produces a pretty substantial amount. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, great pick. Way to dig that one out.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave that behind before I made sure. So I'm glad we talked this out. Adam, we just have one final segment on the show. At the end of every episode of Greatest Trek, we like to read out a warning bois. This is when a person has gone online, either into the comment section on an episode or the ratings and review section on their podcatching app, or just gone on the open social media internet and recommended the show. We like to shout folks out and express our appreciation for spreading the word about the show.
Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning buoys.
An emergency buoy. A warning buoy.
This one is from Gene Kang, who is one of the artists on Lower Decks. On X, at Gene Draws Stuff, tweeted, "Thank you to the At Greatest Trek podcast for sharing information about our current negotiations. You guys are the best. #StandWithAnimation." Referring to you bringing up the Animation Guild and the work that they are trying to do to get a fair contract, much like the writers and actors did last year. I've exchanged a little bit of correspondence with Jean because she really liked our the pin we did in the Lax Max Fun Drive, and I sent her and the team at Titmouse a whole bunch of them because she is the person who storyboarded, I believe, the orgy scene in that season 1 episode.
It's just great work.
Yeah.
Amazing work over there that they do. People
that do that work deserve a living wage, and they deserve to be taken care of by their employers.
Absolutely. Whatever we can do to get the word out is what we're going to keep doing because it's the right and fair thing to do.
Hell yeah. If you'd like to hear your words coming out of our mouths on a future episode, put a social media post up. We may capture it and reference it on a future Warning Bois segment. Thank you.
Oh, Ben, what a delight it was to talk about Star Trek Lower Decks.
Indeed. I'm looking forward to next week's episode, and you will hear a little bit more about that from Wynde as she reads the credits. Thanks, Wynde.
Thanks, Wynde.
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica, and it's produced and edited by Wynde Priddy. Next week, Ben and Adam will be back to cover Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 7. It's called Fully Dilated. Max Fun members who support this show keep us going week after week. If you want to pitch in, it's quick and easy to set up a membership, and you'll get instant access to so much great bonus content, plus the new bonus episodes Ben and Adam put out every single month. MaximumFun.org/join is where you do it, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you to Nick Dittmore, who created the show art, and Adam Ragusia, who composed the theme music. Thank you to Rob Adler and Bill Tilley for their work on the At Greatest Trek social media pages. Follow those accounts and use the hashtag GreatestTrek when you post about the show online. We're also on YouTube, so make sure you're subscribed over there. Merch is available at podshop.biz, and you can book a P1 at MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Greatest Trek.
Smash the behavioral expectations you have for your parents with a comically sized hamburger.
Maximum Fun.
A worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
supported
Directly
by you.